Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome. Thank you, Ann-Katrine. I spoke to her a little while ago. She was in Spain. It's her last week in Spain. She's going back to Germany very soon. I am so happy to have me here with you. Mike's Daily Podcast, broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley 10.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's episode 1509, 1509 today. The Disgruntled Fiddle Player, the Brewmaster, and
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Benita. Hey, I can't believe that here we are already. It's December, and my name isn't Freddie, it's Teddy. No, it's Mike. Is this song alright? I hope you like it, because otherwise we fight. Why do we fight? Makes no sense to me. Fighting is just worthless.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
We should be loving each other instead of fighting. Why does love turn to hate, to fighting? I don't get
Mike's
it. It's so
Daily
perplexing.
Podcast.
But what's even more perplexing is that a certain Mike talked to me on my phone.
Mike.
Yes.
It's early, but I'm reminding you on your podcast that you should talk about that RT thing.
Oh.
And also
Look who walked in.
about that Christmassy thing that's going to be played on radio stations.
Oh, yeah.
In the Bay Area. And finally, your friend's wife.
Look who else walked in.
Talks in bumper sticker slogans.
Oh, that's true.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you turn this off?
Okay. Wow, those are all a bunch of topics to cover. Look who walked in. Hi, Mike. It's Benita, the rodeo queen. How you doing? How's your foot? It's not so good. It hurts like crazy. Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. It's the Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Tell you what.
What?
You need to stay off that foot. Why are you even on your foot right now?
I'm standing now. I will sit down. I'm sitting.
Very good. That's what you need to do. Tell you what.
What?
Sitting is fundamental.
All right, I will continue sitting.
And here's today's podcast picture.
The podcast picture is a drawing between me and it's of me and the wonderful Chely Shoehart who just walked in. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Now in the gift shop, we have a lot of wonderful Christmas toys and other souvenirs and paraphernalia that you can get that will remind you about Mike's Daily Podcast. Did you just do a shameless plug on my podcast show, Chely? Mike Matthews. I mean, there's a gift shop. A cafe anyway. But most of your customers order stuff online. Ah. That's the way of the world, isn't it, Chely? All right, thanks, Chely. Sure, no problem. Go to MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST-1509 is where you can find all the past shows. I spoke with a friend of mine who is he's full of ideas, and we were talking about Mike's Daily Podcast and about podcasting, and he works for a company that has podcasts on it. Like if you do a podcast, you can have your podcast featured on their app, and it doesn't cost anything. And he had a bunch of ideas. It was just a total brainstorm session. So look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer. Oh, boy. Have some right now.
Thank you, Brewmaster. It's great to have you here at Cafe Anyway.
Anyway.
The thing is, though, we were discussing about, he goes, we've done a lot of research at the podcast app that I work for, and we have found that you should only do one podcast a week. And I said, well, the name of the show is Mike's Daily Podcast. I do it daily, except for Saturday.
Except for Saturday.
That's what I should say to disclaim that. And he said, well, you know what you could do is you could say, hey, I'm Mike and I'm really old now, and so I'll only do one podcast a week. My friend, full of ideas, not so full of tact. Yeah, thanks. I'm old. Thanks, idiot. Yeah, so thanks for the ideas. No, I see his point. I see that I shouldn't be doing a podcast every single day. But you know what? I don't see that, because the fact is that people I'll have just as many listeners listening to that one podcast that I do once a week as I do with the 6 podcasts I do per week, up to now 1,509. And he couldn't believe how many podcasts I'd done. He goes, that's too many. No, it's not too many. I get such bad advice from this guy. Why do I even listen to him? But he does have a lot of other good ideas. Well, and then he tells me, you need to streamline your website. He's told me that before. And then I look at his website, and it's just clutter land. So you know what? I put on my website, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, the necessaries, okay? Everything there is what you need in order to be a good Mike's Daily Podcast listener. All the questions you probably wonder, hey, Mike, what is that podcast picture you keep talking about? Well, you'll see it at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Hey, Mike, how do I help out the show? Well, there's a PayPal right there. You can help us out that way. Or that Amazon link if you'd like to help us out that way. So it's all there at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. And, in fact, you can see what Chely Shoehart looks like at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
Mike Matthews, that makes me feel really uneasy right now.
It's a drawing, Chely.
Okay, whatever. Come to my gift shop and buy some stuff. I'm Chely Shoehart, the gift shop supervisor. Say something, Mike.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah. So my friend's wife, she has a lot of... She doesn't talk much, and when she does talk, it's always some kind of inspirational saying. Her sentences are in little inspirational sayings. I said bumper stickers earlier to make a note of it. You know how sometimes you put that's what she's got, like bumper sticker talk. She talks in really quick, little short. I was talking to her about, I go, hey, so have a great day. And she goes, life's an adventure. And I thought, that's true. That's true. That's very pointed, interesting observation. And a short sentence. And then we're she sees, so she talks very quickly. Oh, I said something like, Merry Christmas, and hopefully if I don't see you, have a great Merry Christmas. She goes, you should enjoy every Christmas. The children are our future. Never stick, when you're cleaning your ear, never stick the Q-tip in your ear. You want to just stay on the outside. Don't park on a hill unless you turn the wheels towards the hill as you're parked downhill. Isn't that how it goes? See, I don't park in San Francisco. I'm amazed people that drive to San Francisco every day. I'm lucky. I don't have to do that. But geez. And so I forget what the other things were RT. So I'm looking through at my job. It's my jab. And whenever you say the word job, you have to say jab. Because that's what job is. A job is a jab. That's how you have to say it. Okay, so... and why am I laughing at that? I don't know. And job also looks like Job. It looks like a book from the Bible. And amen. Because Christmas is coming up soon. My point being that when you are doing your job and they have a TV and you're able to watch it because you're doing the weekend shift. And I'm looking through, this is DirecTV I'm looking at. They have on several of the channels that I guess they don't have a channel for yet, which, hey, why don't you put a channel on there that I would like to see? I can't think of any right now. They already have Comedy Central. I don't know. Cafe, I don't know. I mean, Cafe anyway.
Anyway.
What?
Actually, on the TV right now, I'm actually watching Sports Replay, NBC Sports, and they're showing the dog show again. That
John O'Hurley. I love to be on the television and to talk about dogs. I played Jay Peterman on the Seinfeld show.
That's not my best impression. But thank you for the applause. Anyway, at my jab, they have on DirecTV, and I was looking through all the menu, and on like 5 or 6 different channels, they had RT. And I'm like, what is RT? Well, if you watch RT, you realize it is really right wing. In fact, RT could be considered the word right? Because it's the word right without all the letters in between the R and the T. You could think that, right? But it's actually right, and everybody uses the word right? And I'm doing it now too, and I gotta stop! RT stands for Russian television. This channel that has made it into 5 or 6 slots on DirecTV here in the Bay Area is television funded by Russian propaganda.
I say it's better to get along with Russia than not.
I think that, dramatic sound effect there. So, what the heck is that? That's crazy. And since when? It's so weird, isn't it, that the whole and all it talks about, this Russian propaganda, is all right-wing stuff. It's all like, oh, look what the Democrats are saying about Trump. It's all wrong.
Wrong.
It's all false.
Wrong.
Well, it's crazy. Remember back in the day when liberals and Democrats, you sometimes get called a pinko commie? And, oh, you're in league with them Russians, those Ruskies. The Soviet Union collapsed, and somewhere along the line, it became a right-wing, Steve Bannon-loving country. So that's where we are now. And RT on all the channels. That just blows my mind. I watched a little bit of it. What they're doing is they're putting a lot of money into it. Russia is. Their set that they have for the news set that they have is beautiful. It blows. I sometimes watch Bloomberg TV. It blows their set out of the water. It's huge. It's expansive. It's got all these cool technical things. Like they got a TV screen, and then behind the screen there's more TV screens, and they can change everything, make things nicely complement each other. It's visually stimulating. And then they have beautiful women on there that are visually stimulating, and they've got these people with British accents on there, so you're like, oh, this can't possibly be affiliated with Russia. It's English people. They're from England. They hate Russia, right? In England? And it's Americans on this station. We hate Russia in America, don't we? Oh, wait, we got a president that loves Russia, who's married to a Russian. Okay, she's not Russian, but she's got an accent. Man, did you hear her talk? She's got an accent. Cool. And then there's the whole Russian collusion thing. So it's just weird that this world in which we live. And that's a song by Wang Chung, where Wang Chung actually says the S word. They actually cuss on that song that you can find on the Everybody Wang Chung Tonight album that came out back in the 1920s, 80s, somewhere in there. So the diplomat Rips Tillerson, a U.S. Foreign Service officer, slammed the Trump administration and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson in a letter announcing her departure from the State Department. In the letter, which was first reported by Foreign Policy, I didn't mention on the last show, I was talking about Guy Rizdal from Marketplace and how he was talking about the fires in L.A., and he hardly mentioned at all the Ventura fires, which are horrendous and just heartbreaking. And the place that I lived in for 10 years, I just found out for sure that it burned down. It was a rental, a little duplex I lived in near downtown Ventura. I mean, my heart goes out to you, Venturans, Ventura Countyans. You're going through this is worse than anything I ever experienced when I lived there. I lived there for a long time, a big chunk of my life. So my heart goes out to them. But back to this story here in the letter, which was first reported by Foreign Policy, this from The Hill, Elizabeth Shackelford criticized the administration for the stinging disrespect. She argues it shows the diplomatic corps. Okay, that was an odd sentence. Some word got omitted somewhere in that paragraph, but there you go. Tillerson in recent weeks has defended his leadership of the State Department in the face of critics who have pointed to low morale among staff, the hiring freeze, and staff changes. In her letter, Shackelford called on Tillerson to stand up for employees of the State Department and to display leadership and a commitment to our people, our mission, and our mandate as the foreign policy arm of the United States. So we got the what else here? UN official shocked at the poverty in rural Alabama. FBI email says Sessions wasn't required to disclose foreign contacts for security clearance. A newly released document shows that the FBI told an aide to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, "I'm Jeff Sessions, and I talk like this in little phrases, and then I stop. Do I use bumper sticker quotations? No, I don't." Who is this lovely lady? Oh, my.
That's on a security clearance form. Evan Perez is joining us on the phone. Evan, what do you have?
Well, Anna, if you remember back a few months ago, when we reported that Jeff Sessions had not reported his Russian contacts, with the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, on his form for an application for his security clearance, the Justice Department at the time told us that he had been advised by the FBI that he didn't need to list those contacts. And for the first time now, we've seen some documentation that backs up the Justice Department's explanation. And what it says is that there's an FBI agent who told the Attorney General's assistant that he didn't have to list it if it was in the course of his doing his government work, his official duties as a government official.
This hour, a newly released document.
Thank you, CNN. Okay. And that's what the RT channel likes to disprove anything that CNN says. Haley, the lovely Nikki Haley, not Haley from the Daily Haley that we used to do on this show.
The Daily Haley. The almost Daily Haley.
And I really need to get caught up with Haley soon. It's been a long time. Been a long time since I talked to Haley.
And in America's national...
Oh, look, there's John Dickerson talking to Nikki Haley.
Well, first of all, this is a move the American people have asked for 22 years. And 6 months ago, the Senate overwhelmingly again asked for the embassy to be moved. And I think you have to look at...
Oh, that's the Jerusalem thing. So, she's our U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, the lovely Nikki Haley. She said today, in light of growing number of probes into sexual misconduct against lawmakers, that the time has come to start bringing a conscience to the situation surrounding the treatment of women in the workplace as well as Capitol Hill. When asked what she thinks of the cultural shift taking place in the U.S., Haley said she is incredibly proud of the women who have come forward. I'm proud of their strength. I'm proud of their courage, she said. And Haley's comments come after, Al Franken, John Conyers, and Trent Franks. Trent Franks, a Republican. The rest are Democrats. But Trent Franks is actually one of the few Republicans who have sexual misconduct and harassment allegations against them to step down. So Trent Franks of Arizona. And so in Franken's wake, 3 senators have called on Trump to resign, to leave. Bernie Sanders, 2 of his Democratic colleagues have suggested that President Trump should consider resigning after a run of sexual harassment accusation scandals have forced Franken out. Senator Al Franken felt it proper for him to resign, Sanders said in an interview with Meet the Press this morning, referring to the Democrat from Minnesota. Here you have a president who has been accused by many women of assault, who says on a tape that he assaulted women. He might want to think about doing the same, he said. And then the tax plans may give your coworker a better deal than you, says the New York Times. The amount you make may be less important than how you make it. Consider two chefs working side by side for the same catering company, doing the same job for the same hours and the same money. The only difference is that one is an employee, the other an independent contractor. Under the Republican plans, one gets a tax break and the other doesn't, because for the first time, the United States adopted an income tax. A higher rate would be applied. Since the United States adopted an income tax, a higher rate would be applied to employee wages and salaries than to income earned by proprietors. A higher rate applied to employees than to the owners. That's crazy. So it makes sense to own a company. So as a decorator, an artist, or a plumber would have a higher tax rate than an owner of a decorating business, art shop, or plumbing supply store. So it pays to be an owner. We all need to own things, and then that will be your job. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we go outside of there, somewhere in Podcaster Valley where we have the Mike's Daily Podcast. And the other bit of advice my podcast friend said was, hey, Mike, you should give away stuff on your show. So that's what I'm doing.
Skill time, personalized MP3 for these content.
Yes! So, tell me, give me your Christmas greeting, your Christmas hello, a salutation to me, Mike Matthews, and say something, happy holidays or whatever, and then I will return to you an MP3 filled with all the Cafe characters, the Cafe Anyway characters. You can email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me at 336-MM-DAILY. That's 336-MM-DAILY. I'd like to give you one little bit of tech news. Okay, I'm scrolling down. I'm scrolling down for the tech news. Where's my tech news? Your child is getting his first smartphone. Read this first. It says, ask yourself, is your child old enough for a smartphone? Kids aren't waiting as long to get their first smartphones, according to a 2016 study. And it's funny because last night when I was driving home, I saw two little girls walking down the sidewalk and they had their smartphones out, clicking away, walking down the side. That's so dangerous. They don't see where they're going. According to a 2016 study from a research firm, Influence Central, the average age for a child getting his or her first smartphone is 10.3 years old, down from 12 in 2012. There's no real consensus among experts on the right age to buy a smartphone. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates said all three of his kids are waiting until they're 14 to get theirs. Use your phone's parental controls. That's what they suggest here on USA Today. Keep an eye on the app downloads. And the more you know, perhaps the most important thing parents can do is stay informed. Talk to your kids about why they want a phone and how they plan to use it. Next show, we're going to have the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Thank you for listening to the Super Secret Sunday Show.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!